Okay. Where to begin? Hey everybody, name's Trigger FTU, also known as the Phantom Fox. People know me as Will Play as well. Today, I make a new video. This is to reiterate the whole situation with the GPD Win 3 and the use and playing of Elite Dangerous, Odyssey, and Horizons. Now, for my other video, I had someone by the name of Gareth Roth UK said, please retry with the workaround by Darkside7382 on the official forums. So I don't know what the official forums may be. I tried looking around for them. Nothing had popped up. Now, he also stated, try to unplug and plug in the keyboard and a mouse, causes some background activity. Unfortunately, I'm not using this with a mouse and keyboard at the moment. So, there is one thing that came to my mind. And that was the fact that whenever I loaded the game, it would freeze and error at planetary shaders, basically. You know, and this guy says there's a dirty fix, you know, hit the Windows key from back and forth until it reached 100. Now, the thing is, the game continued on playing. I kept force closing it. So, this video is going to be, well, let's just call it a part 2 to Will It Play on the GPD Win 3. I actually loaded up the game, and I closed out the error, and here's the fix that I came across. First thing I did was I checked my drivers, okay? So, Gareth Ross, thank you for that, for the information, requesting about the driver information. I'm using the newest driver. Mind you, I'm running Windows 11 on this thing. Might not be the best thing in the world, but I can't go back. I will be doing some testing with other operating systems later on down the road. But yeah. But here's what I did. This is probably a dirty fix of all times, and you gotta be patient. You gotta understand, these things are mobile systems. What I did was I closed out the error, loaded the game, and let it sit, basically, and try to continue. After like 10-15 minutes, it finally progressed and finalized. I was kind of baffled at this. So today we're going to relook at Will It Play GPD Win 3 Edition. And yes, like I said, and I'll also post it up here in the voice, in the video, the newest version of the drivers that I'm currently using is the newest one. From Intel, basically. I'm using the Intel services, basically. Let's take a look. So, taking a look here, I'm actually using the newest driver for Windows 10 and 11, which is, I don't know. I really don't know. Intel doesn't post up this information by the looks of it. I'm looking. I don't see nothing. Anyways, we'll load it up on the system. We'll take a look-see. Let's take a look, huh? So here we are with the GPD Win 3. This is round 2, of course. And, well, let's take a look at the driver version that we're currently using. So, current driver that I'm currently using is right there. Whoa, focus. Is currently 31.0.101.1717. That's the current driver that I have available and installed. Now, like I said, I made the minor mistake as to pretty much just sitting here and being impatient. So let's see if it will play. Currently, the CPU settings are set to normal. The great thing about Elite Dangerous is it does have the tools to run everything with a controller, so no need to worry about that. So I'll load it up, hit and play. As you can clearly see, I have it set to Odyssey. Now the game does take a moment to load up. Now originally the drivers that is required, it requires to have something with at least 6 to 8 gigabytes of video RAM, as what it says here in the information plane. On Steam, that's pretty much what it shows. Alright, yeah, here it is. So it requires a graphics card with a GTX 770 or an R9 280X. And of course it does need about 8 gigabytes of RAM. Luckily for us, the system does have around 16 and it's sharing part of it. As you can see, the game has loaded up officially and finally. Like I said, what I had to do is pretty much just select to activate the stuff that I needed to activate, which pretty much was, I just needed to okay the error and just let it go. And then wait patiently. Anyways, looking into the graphics, let's take a look at what we got in the graphics settings. Currently everything is set to what looks to be, preparation is set up on startup, correct. The quality settings is set to custom. Doesn't really help me all that much, does it? And I can't open up any farther than that. In the settings we can clearly see model draw distance is at bare minimum. Texture quality set to minimum or medium at least. Trilinear low, low, off, off. SMAA. 1x super sampling. Of course, we do have AMD Fidelity CAS enabled with the highest intensity. This is to help prevent the whole, how do I put it, fuzziness to the game. Everything is pretty much set to low right now, and as you can see, the game is running at around 60 FPS with no problems. So let's continue. We'll go into an open play. That way we at least have some people running around on the screen. We are still averaging off at around 60 FPS, give or take, with a few dips. The system is rocking down on RAM. It looks like maxing out at around 10 to 11 gigabytes. The CPU package is currently at 68 degrees Celsius, maxing at around 72, and at maxing out at 820 watts. Like I did say before, and I will say again, it does take a minute to load. You gotta know this is a mobile system, so you can't really expect it to move fast like it does with a Threadripper or a high-end i9. And you can clearly see, of course, I'm able to move about. Let's go into our local services and see what we can do. Looking around, I can, well, I actually got a good view of things. Hit the disembark. Let's see how things look whenever we go on foot. It is dipping down at around 10 FPS. But it looks like it's a good average 40 frames to 50 frames per second, which isn't half bad. I have a good view of my adder here. It's a big one. Can't jump around. But the controls are very nice. It just works right now. Now that's just with the hangar. We're going to go up into the main area where there will be people and NPCs. It does dip down to around 11 frames per second. Now that we have NPCs and actual active characters, we can see that it averages off at around 24 to 25 FPS. Mind you, this is at normal settings, maxing out at 20 watts for the CPU TDP. It's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I can imagine with low settings it'll be a whole lot less. Actually, I can imagine I'm probably already at low settings as it is. I mean, if it's maxing out at 20 watts, then that would actually indicate that it is running at low settings, which isn't too bad. 30 to 40 FPS isn't too bad. It's still very playable, especially whenever it comes down to FPS mode. All right, so with that said, I'm going to close out, exit the desktop, and I'm going to load up the game once again in a much more higher setting. All right, here we are. We are currently in the BIOS, checking things out. Looks like I had the CPU TDP set to normal, which isn't all that much. With normal settings, it goes up to 20 to 25 watts. So we're going to hit up, and then for fan policy, we're going to go into performance. We want to keep this as cool as possible. After in which, we're going to save changes and exit, and then we will try this again. So now we have it set to up, which brings us up to 25 228 watts, maxing out at almost 30 watts TDP. If we hit the play button, clearly the screen does go black, showing that it is about to load up. We'll give it a go and see how well we can push for those frames as well. Mind you, everything is still set to low in-game. And the playable experience that I would say would be best is anywhere 30 and higher. Anything that dips below 30 FPS is pretty much unplayable or very difficult to play. Reason why, I will state, most games, even back in the past and for current day, mostly played at 30 FPS. Anything at 15, we're talking stuff at Atari level. Now we do see that everything is loading up. It's loaded up the planetary information already. I'm going to switch this over to controller mode. And as you can see, the game does play very well. In fact, it's probably playing a lot better now than it did last time. Checking out the graphics information, it still shows as custom. Opening everything up still shows as medium, trilinear, and so on. So that's just to show that I didn't change anything in the video settings. We're going to go back into open play, and the game's going to load up. We see that the game is currently running at around 20 to 23 watts, maxing out at 76 degrees on the CPU package. Now the CPU that I'm currently running is an 1165 G7. We're currently running at around what looks to be 11 gigabytes of RAM. Loading in, it kind of dips down just a smidge, but it still levels out at around anywhere between 25 to 30 FPS. So we can clearly see the game is very much playable on high settings, but don't expect on playing for very long. Now we do need supplies for whenever we go out into battle. Something that I like about this game is the ability to be so interchangeable with the cosmetics. So far so good. The game does run pretty good. Going back to my ship, we can clearly see that it does max out around 60 frames per second plus, which isn't bad. That's something that we really want to keep up on. So we'll go board on in, we'll find a place to go, and we'll see how things work out. Now the graphics may vary. You can put it on a bigger screen. Now we're in Super Cruise. And we're working to our next destination. Yeah, those planets are still loading up. I'm rather surprised that the game is able to continuously push 60 FPS with no problem. Especially considering that this little machine does not have a GPU. Not a real one, at least. So the fact that it's working is baffling. But it's running an integrated graphics. The XE is still a really powerful piece of machinery. And the fact that this actually does run really well, I've got no disagreements. We're loading up onto another planet. We'll see what things look like after that. Okay, we're currently on approach of one of the new planets. Or at least the planet I've never been to before. So we'll see how things tend to look whenever we reach our destination. So far, the game's still rocking at a good 60 FPS. That's where it's capped out at, of course. Beautiful view of all the planets as they are currently being flown by. The controls are, well, better. Oh my goodness. Not bad for an Unreal Engine 3 game. Of course, the rings still look like trash, but, you know, what can you expect? Do I recommend ever playing this thing on a mini screen like this? No. I would have to say, best bet, try finding a bigger monitor to attach this to. let's see if we can do a fly up and landing. You see a deposit there. It's a conflict zone. Just trying to find a place to land and start some trouble. I mean, have some fun. Why does everything always end up being on the other side of the planet? I wonder that all the time. Bringing it in nice and easy. See our destination right in front of us. $20 and counting. Still running at around 60 FPS plus. Things are loading in slowly but surely. Alright, I'm being fired on. Well, that's how that cookie crumbled. So much for landing. Good thing I had insurance. And now there's a bounty on my head. Well, that was fun. Anyways, that is it. That is definitely the game in a nutshell. Still very much able to do 60 FPS, very much playable. So I retract to everything that I said previously about Elite Dangerous not being able to work on the GPD Win 3. Oh God, music. By the looks of it, I'm on a real deal space station this time. Drops down to 38 FPS. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. So with that said, the question came up, will it play? The answer is yes, it will in fact play on the GPD Win 3. So with that said, I did make the mistake into saying that it won't work when realistically it will. Alright, there. I admit that I was wrong. For future endeavors though, there will be more videos coming up with separate games and separate systems. We're still waiting on the time frame when our really wonderful little system from Steam comes in. Also, on a side note, I was taking a look here at one of the communities that I'm with. It seems within the GPD community, they have found something. Somebody had found out, what they found out was actually kind of something interesting. They found out that Steam was using a GPD device, or one of several different devices similar to beta test Steam OS 3.0. And some of the systems that pop up are Lenovo's, a ThinkPad X220, a few other systems, of course. But one of the things that pop up is the GPD Win itself. Installation can be done on a GPD Win 2 and a GPD 1, but whether or not it works very well on a 3 is pretty much beyond me. Might have to install custom drivers. With that said, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and remember, if you're not having fun while playing a game, chances are you're doing it wrong. Also, in addition, I do live stream. Believe it or not, I do live streaming. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube and on Facebook at the name Trigger FTU. With that said, y'all have a great one, and see you next time for the next video. Peace out.